Okay, I'm sorry, Sammy. Can you go ahead again, please?
Sure. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in its petty pace from day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death.
Okay, we're going to keep that in as an outtake at the beginning. Thank you. Regardless of what he decides to give me for a level check, it will not even match up to that anywhere close, and I'm sure he would agree.
Well, not everybody can just quote Shakespeare at the drop of a hat.
That's true. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ranking the Retros Roundtable. I forgot what we were doing. It's
Wow.
been a long day. This is already starting off great. Welcome to episode 9. We are reviewing all the Black Box NES games. This is the final episode of the Black Box games, which we will be cheering. And after this, we get to go on to the main meat of the system, all 650 plus other games on the system. But we'll get to that momentarily. With us right now is Jerry.
Hello there. And by the way, that number you just gave, that feels very overwhelming.
It is, but, bite-sized chunks, remember?
Right.
Also with us is Sammy.
Heidi-ho, neighbors.
Heidi-ho indeed. For this episode, we will be doing 10-Yard Fight, Mach Rider, Mario Brothers, and Kung Fu. And by Mario Brothers, it's not Super Mario Brothers, it's just Mario Brothers, a classic arcade game from the yesteryear.
Hey, Wayne.
Yep.
How's that bubbly over there that you cracked open for celebration of the last recording of Black Box games?
Oh, it is delicious. And for the record, it's not the crappy sparkling soda, because I don't like sparkling soda or sparkling water. We've always joked that sparkling cider is bubbly, because I don't drink, so it's the closest thing I'm ever going to get to champagne. So we will have a toast at the end to these finality of the Black Box games. Was that too dramatic? That might have been too dramatic, but
No,
I don't care.
No, because we've been put through a lot trying to get through these.
You're right. But this is going to be a good episode, because not only is it the last Black Box episode that we're doing, but I feel like these games are pretty solid, but we'll see if your mentality on that, your opinions are similar to mine. All right, so let's start the episode off, as we normally do, with the trivia.
It's now time for the Power Up Pop Quiz.
As always, I find 5 questions found on the internet, which are all themed around the games of this episode. And for once, at the end of this episode, the points will actually mean something. So,
Yay.
Jerry and Sammy, since you are the only ones available at the moment, Jerry, you have 8 points, so you're in the lead, and Sammy, you have 6. So you can still take that lead. So yes, there was a prize at the end of that rainbow. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Number 1. When the NFL started in 1920, how many teams were there?
I knew this once.
When the NFL started in 1920, how many teams were there?
Not many. I'm going to say 8.
8, okay.
That was seriously the number I was going to pick. I'll say 10.
10. Jerry,
Yes.
were you studying from Dan's books? Because you are right on the nose.
No
10.
way. Wow, I thought you were going to say 12.
No, there were 10 teams.
See, aren't you glad you didn't say 8?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for taking my number and losing.
The pleasure was all mine.
According to the Nintendo Fandom Wiki, what city does Mario Brothers take place in?
Okay, other than you think we've read that thing?
No. That's the whole point of it.
Chicago.
Okay.
Chicago. That's an interesting
I don't
one.
know. Italian plumbers? It's just as good a guess as anywhere else.
Fair. Okay. Gee.
If I do say so myself.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
What, that takes place in a
Chicago?
city?
Wait, are you asking me if I didn't know Chicago was a place?
That's what I thought you meant. It's my kind of town, Chicago is. Where are there both turtles and mushrooms? Where do those two things exist
I mean,
in
they
the
could be
world
here
together?
too. I mean,
Ah.
Well, this is before the
All
mushrooms
right, I'm
even
sorry. I
existed.
keep interrupting.
oh,
That's true. There were no mushrooms in this one.
um,
Spoiler alert.
jeez. You know what? This doesn't even make any sense, but I'm just going to say New York.
New York City would be the answer. So, Jerry, again, you got it. Yeah, the game actually supposedly takes place in the sewers of New York City. Number 3. Mach Rider's title comes from a toy that Nintendo created in what year?
1972.
Fortunately, we're recording the trivia after we already talked about Mach Rider. And Jerry decided to throw this little piece of info out during that piece. So I'm like, well, there goes one of my trivia questions. I hope he doesn't know the exact year.
I guess you should learn your lesson. Don't do this again.
It was 1972.
Jerry does research.
All right, Mr. Research Guy. Number 4. According to Wikipedia, karate began gaining real popularity in what year after it had begun being taught in schools in Okinawa, Japan?
I'll say 1982.
Okay.
I'll say 1967.
You're both off, but Sammy, you were closer. It's actually 1905.
Seriously?
Yeah, karate's been around for a long time.
Well, I've been...
I think technically it's been around since like the 1700s, but they didn't have like an actual year for it. It just kind of existed, but it began really getting popular when Japan schools started to teach it in their dojos.
Well, you'll have to forgive me. I've been living under a rock, under the sea, for the last 100 years.
Are you living? Oh, so are you comparing yourself to Patrick then? Rock under the sea?
SpongeBob!
Number 5. Mario was supposed to be what profession before Shigeru Miyamoto changed it to plumber? Because Mario was not always supposed to be a plumber. What was his original job title? I found this one kind of interesting.
Farmer.
Farmer? Okay.
I was going to say...
I don't. It's always after the peach.
That's fair.
That's good reasoning.
That's actually... Yeah, that's solid. I was going to say...
Solid, but almost certainly wrong.
Now that you said that surprises you, I don't know if I should say my original answer. Because I feel like this wouldn't necessarily be... Because when you say surprising, I think that it's got to be some kind of like random obscure thing now. Forget it. I'll just go with restaurateur.
Restaurateur. The correct answer to that would be a carpenter. Apparently he was originally designed to be a carpenter, which is why he has the overalls on. I guess that's what carpenters wore in the 80s. I was a little confused by that, but that was his original job until Shiggy decided, nah, he looks like a plumber. So,
checks out.
With that said, Jerry, you are still in the lead with 11 points, and Sammy, you have 7. So now, Sammy, you and Dan are tied, 7 apiece. Jerry, you won. So at the end of the episode, I will have a prize for you.
Yay!
I owe you a Coke.
Sweet.
So anyway, without further ado, 10-yard fight. It is a American football-based NES game that was released in October of 1985. It was not developed by Nintendo. It was actually developed by IREM, who also developed a few other games on the system. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's a pretty simplistic football game. there's really not much to it. You have 5 skill levels, and I don't even know if you can really call them plays. It's almost everything is a play action, I feel.
Is it unfair to call it overly simplistic? Because that's my
I don't
sentiment.
think it is. Yeah, I mean, it's very simplistic. You literally, when you're on offense, you hike the ball, or you wait for your receiver to get to where you want him to be. You hike the ball, and then you can either run it yourself, pass it to your receiver who only goes straight up, or do a what's it called? Why am I drawing a
Handoff?
blank on this? No, it's not even really a handoff.
I don't know what you're trying to say, dude.
My brain has died on me today.
You didn't even remember the name of the show.
Screen pass?
That's the word. Thank you.
Jeez.
I mean,
couldn't
it's
think
well, a screen pass is like a fake, though. Well, I guess not necessarily.
I mean, screen passes usually go to your running back, and that's kind of what you're doing.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's
So-
true. That's true.
But that's literally all the plays you have in your book. That like when you are done with a play and you move on to the next down, there's no play selection or anything. You always have the same formation, and you only have essentially those 3 plays to run: 2 passes and a run. That's all you got. And on defense, all you're doing is choosing which defender you want to control. You can't switch defenders when you're after the ball is hiked. So to say the gameplay is limited, I'd say that's a fair description of it. I don't know. What did you guys think of it? Because I enjoyed it for what it was. I played a few games of it. But I have one complaint, but I want to see if you guys have that complaint too.
It was kind of like trying to design a sculpture with an Etch-a-Sketch.
I was like, oh, here it
I was
comes.
just
Here comes here comes the analogy. I was all like waiting for it, and you did not disappoint. Thank you.
glad to hear it. Yeah, it was hyper simplistic. I'll throw that word in the ring
I like that.
as a descriptor
I like that too.
because it was so unidimensional and there was really not very much control, right, over the players. I mean, you were almost just controlling the team as a whole, right? You couldn't control the defenders. You had to hope that I was about to say you had to hope that the AI did a good job, but I don't think that even really existed at that point.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. This is like the first thing I noticed. Did anybody else have trouble throwing the ball to your receiver?
Yes,
Because my very first play, I threw an interception.
I did too.
I'm like, oh, this is how this is going to be. So, and then my second pass, interception. So then I just stopped trying to pass the ball to my receiver, and I won the game by just running the ball and doing screen passes. Because I don't know if it's a bug with the, as Sam said, AI, I guess you can call it semi-AI, the computer player. But if you're running diagonal, it makes it very difficult for the computer to tackle you. The only time you really run into an issue is when you get to the end of the field and have to turn and run towards the center again.
I was doing a little bit of background. I try to do some background on this stuff when I'm playing it, and I can't believe, like, for my opinions on it, that the game was listed as in one of Japan's publications, Game Machine, like it was listed as their top grossing new table arcade cabinet of the month, and then it topped Japan's table arcade game chart in March of 1984. So like it was reception wise there, it was received very well.
I can only imagine, and I was reading into it a little bit when I was doing the trivia questions for this podcast, but I was reading that I guess a lot of reception with this game is because it was really one of the first football games that came out with somewhat realistic, accurate rule sets. It's still a little kind of lenient on that front because you can't even return interceptions. So there's that. I guess the game wasn't technically advanced enough to be able to switch who's on offense and who's on defense on the fly like that, which is why as soon as someone intercepts the ball, it says pass intercept, and the defender just starts doing a little dance on the field. So that's accurate. I mean, they still do that to this day. I mean, what I did like, though, you can wiggle the D-pad in order to get away from tackles. I kind of thought that was a cool addition. That just because someone's like clinging on you, it doesn't mean the play is over. You can try to like wrestle your way out of there. Granted, if there's like 3 or 4 defenders on you, it's a little bit more difficult. But I thought it was a cool little touch.
Yeah, I was able to shake off 2 defenders at once. That was pretty sweet. And I really like the overhead view. That a couple of the games that you and I have played over the years have that. And I don't want to say that I prefer that point of view, but I enjoyed that. Again, I think it's a case for me. I'm spoiled by more modern games, and I did. I felt like this was too simple, and it didn't offer a whole lot. I think I played it for like 15 or 20 minutes, and I turned it off.
I mean, I played a game or two. I think I played about 2 games, and I enjoyed it enough, but I don't know if it'd be a game that I would pick up frequently. My main problem with the game isn't even necessarily the simplistic nature of it. It's just the slow pacing. I thought NES play action football was slow. This is even worse. It's like everybody's running around in like 7 feet of snow and trying to get open. I mean, that's about how slow everybody moves. But one thing I will add to that is the game does have a little bit of immersion where you see the ref running onto the field and you actually hear like cheers and whistles and all that from the audience around you. Even though it does kind of sound like seagulls around an ocean. Did anybody try playing this game on anything higher than the normal or the first level? Because there's 5 skill levels, which are basically high school and then like, I don't know, college level, professional, playoffs, and then Super Bowl. I only played it on the high school level and the college level.
I only played it on high school.
I needed a CYO level.
But the question is, was it more enjoyable than volleyball?
Is that your attempt in setting up for the rankings?
No, I just felt like I needed to throw that out there.
Oh no, do you think it's more playable than volleyball?
Yes, I do.
But how much more playable?
Not as playable as soccer.
So here's the funny thing about that. Like volleyball to me was just absolutely broken. Like it had enough content there to be fun. It's just the gameplay was broken. Here the gameplay is, I'll put it solid, other than like the passing being really weird and I found it hard to do. But there's just not much to the game. Even on the higher difficulties, I was watching a video of it, I think it was yesterday, and even on the highest difficulty level of the Super Bowl, you can still outrun your tacklers just by running diagonal across the field. So that doesn't really change. I don't know if they're just more aggressive or more willing to evade your tackles, but there really doesn't seem to be that much difference between one difficulty level or another. So whereas volleyball, you have multiple sets and matches and stuff like that, the game's just broken. Whereas here, I feel like it's kind of reversed. You have solid gameplay. There's just not much to do. And if you're the only person in your household and you're the only one playing the game, and you can't even take advantage of the 2-player option, I just couldn't see this game being one you really got into.
I would say it was underwhelming.
That is a really good way of putting it. Let's rank this bad boy, shall we? Sammy, let's start with you. Where would you put this on the list?
I would place this in 18, I think, right behind Ice Climber.
Okay. I would put it in about the same area. I wrote down on my notes, I'd put it between Soccer and Ice Climber. I think I would still play this one a little bit more than Ice Climber, but Soccer is just fundamentally, I feel, a better game. Jerry?
I'm actually in agreement with you. That's where I was going to place it, between Soccer and Ice Climber.
I know how much you hate Ice Climber.
Yeah,
so.
but Right. Okay, but I don't want to just have the reputation of like, oh, I just don't like Ice Climber and I want to see it fall down. You brought up a point before where you felt like volleyball is broken. I still feel like Ice Climber's somewhat broken with the horrible jumping. So that always is going to lose points with me. And so that's the reason. I would play 10-Yard Fight over Ice Climber because 10-Yard Fight, while simplistic and a little underwhelming, doesn't feel broken like Ice Climber does.
That's a fair point. Sam, are you cool with that between Soccer and Ice Climber?
I'm cool.
It's pretty much all in the same area, so figured you would be. It's a 10-Yard Fight, number 17 between Soccer and Ice Climber. That said, let's move on to game number 2, which would be Mach Rider. This game was released in the US on August of 1986. You are the Mach Rider, according to the game. That tells you this every time you choose a mode or level. One of the two. But apparently you are a Mach Rider, and the world has collapsed, and you're trying to get from point A to, I guess, your new hometown. And no one wants you to make this journey. So it's a 3D game. It's actually kind of cool that way. This is the first time I've ever played Mach Rider. I actually thought it was kind of interesting. It takes place in 2112, so kind of, again, they're, near future. So apparently this is what the world's going to look like in 2112. There's 3 game types. One, you're just trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And another one, you're actually just trying to survive, essentially. And then you also have a solo mode in which it's the same as get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, just there's no opposing riders. There's also a course design option. Gameplay-wise, I guess you can call it 3D Racer, kind of similar to Rad Racer, Slalom, like we talked about. What was that, last week or last podcast? Was it last podcast? No, it was second to last podcast. In order to move, you have 4 different gears, so you actually have a manual transmission. There are no brakes, which kind of weird. But I kind of like the gear system. It took me a little bit of getting used to actually utilizing it properly. But once I did, I kind of enjoyed it. It gave it a little bit more of a, I guess, more hands-on feel, if that makes sense. I'm talking too much. It's your turn. Who wants to talk about this game?
Well, obviously it was very popular.
Yep. Boy, the silence is deafening, isn't it?
I can't tell if the crickets were on Discord or outside. Let me throw it out there. You can die by getting rear-ended. I feel like there's something to say about that. It felt kind of weird because there were times where I was driving and you do get a rearview mirror, but the pace is so fast you can't really keep track of it, I feel. So that was kind of unfair at times. But let me put this out there. Maybe this will start a conversation of this game. All right. So we all played Slalom. For the most part, I feel like we all enjoyed it. It was smooth. It had the same kind of mechanics, I guess you could say, as Mach Rider. Was I the only one that knows that this game was significantly choppier than Slalom? I felt like I was getting a headache after I played this game for about 20, 30 minutes because it was very hard to turn corners because of the jerky feel of the game.
One of the things that I was going to give a positive to it on was that you had that rearview mirror. Until I realized that it doesn't really do much. It's not helpful. Because you only have a split second to react to it. I got blown up so many times. I did find it very... You know how, like, if you got blown up, the game just kind of did this rewind thing, like, and you just morphed back together and you just kept going. I really liked that. Wasn't like an Excite Bike thing, like where you fall over and you have to run back to the bike. For its time, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, you literally explode when you're destroyed.
Yeah, it was like you said, the performance of the game, and I just found it to being like the turns especially were just problematic. I just couldn't get into this game. I tried. And the gear system is a nice touch, but I just didn't, I didn't like it.
Did you try all the modes or just the main endurance mode?
I tried endurance mode and I tried what's the other mode called? Fighting course. I tried them both. I got a little bit further in endurance mode than the fighting course, but I just got tired of getting blown up. I'm bad at this game, I guess. Maybe I need to give it another go. Maybe I need to give it a little more time. But as it stands right now, I was very frustrated by it.
Okay, so yeah, I did a lot better in endurance mode, or the endurance course. I don't know, maybe you should have started with the solo course, because that's almost like a practice. Solo course is essentially endurance without the other racers, so you just have to worry about the obstacles. But those obstacles can be a nightmare as well. I know I ran into issues where I'm like turning and I couldn't even see the stuff in the road. And you hit a puddle of water and you just go sliding off the side.
Well, I'll start with the aesthetics, which I thought were kind of interesting. As you said, it's supposed to be set in 2112, and I couldn't help but notice that it almost had this Fallout vibe to it. Very dingy colors, post-apocalyptic feeling to it. And so that was kind of curious and interesting. I also found it really difficult to turn corners. It was very choppy. Really, you're driving along this highway and you're trying to turn to stay in the lane. There are also some obstacles, right? There are oil slicks and things in the road that you have to avoid. But there are other motorcycles coming up behind you that can hit you. If they pass you, then you have the option to shoot them, right? With your little laser
Mhm.
gun. And it seems to me that the character that you're playing must be an Imperial stormtrooper because I didn't hit a single person ever. I'm not sure if it's possible to hit anyone. Were you guys able to hit anyone, or was it just to give you the impression of power?
Yeah, I hit nothing, man. Nothing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was able to hit other opponents. It
Oh, look
took
at
some
this.
practice.
We got a
and it
regular
didn't happen often.
sharpshooter on our hands over here.
Yeah,
And
I'm apparently not a stormtrooper. I think that's a good thing. But
for the whole world,
it,
yeah.
it's not easy to do. And I think part of it's because your shots always go forward no matter what. And a lot of times, the other, I guess you can call them racers, the guys that want you dead, they're passing you around these turns. So if they're not passing around the outside of you, there's no way you're hitting them, which kind of frustrates me. But at the same time, you can also knock them into obstacles too and kill them that way. I know I've knocked a few of them in like the barrels on the side of the road, and I'd laugh when they blow up, and then I'd blow up by hitting a rock next to me too. So
I was not nearly that facile in my driving to be able to manipulate other people's paths. I could barely keep myself on the road without throwing up.
and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. There's something about the, I guess you can call it quality of the scrolling. It almost made me sick, like playing it. I don't know if I'm just used to games like Slalom that were much smoother, or hell, even Rad Racer 2, Outrun. I don't know. There's just something about this game's tracks that I don't want to say I got nauseous, but I felt ill, if that makes sense.
Good job, Hal Laboratory. Good job. You did fantastic on this one.
Wait, Hal did this one?
According to what I read.
Did I miss that? Oh, wow. I didn't realize that Hal worked on that one. Did not know that. I somehow missed that.
Well, now you know.
And now I know. But anyway, going back to what Sammy said about the aesthetic about the game, I love that too. I am a huge fan of post-apocalyptic games like this. I hope I never have to deal with anything like this in real life, but in a video game setting, I love this kind of stuff. This, Last of Us, the Fallout games, like I love that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is. There's just something about the dreary setting, the overall sense of dread, the, just got to take one more step to keep living, that kind of mentality. I don't know. There's just something about it that I absolutely love. So that does get a couple bonus points in my book for this.
And another thing
But
that was interesting that I read about this, I don't know, I would assume there's some kind of relation to this, but I thought I read that it was in the 70s, I guess, that Nintendo, because they were a toy company prior to doing games, but that they had released a plastic race car, kind of like a hot rod toy, and it was called Mach Rider. I don't know.
yeah,
12 years
I
later,
did see that as well.
they decided to hey, that was a cool name. Let's throw it on a video game title.
It is a cool name. And I can definitely, again, going back to the whole visual appeal and all that, the whole setting, I feel like this is something that was heavily inspired by Mad Max. Did anybody mess around with the design option, the course design?
No, did you?
I did a little bit. I'm going to put it this way. It's not as easy to use as Excitebike. Basically, you have this, I guess you can call it grid, and the course parts are all shown on the bottom of the screen. And you essentially just choose a layout. That's all you got to do. Either I'm stupid or it's just doesn't really work right because I couldn't back out of this menu. I had to reset the whole game.
Okay, so that wasn't just you. I
But
went
no,
in there and I got stuck,
okay.
and I'm like, oh, what the hell? And
I'm hitting every button. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I couldn't figure out how to back out. It's a stupid nitpick, I know, but something I did want to mention for this. But I do like the design option. So it's there. So, 2 episodes ago, I mentioned how a course design on slalom would probably have been too technologically advanced. Well, Mach Rider just proved me wrong. They have a 3D game here. It's here you go, design a course. One thing I did forget to mention too is that every level, at least in the fighting, what's it called? The fighting course, there's 2 different tracks per level. You either choose track A or track B, and they're completely different courses. I thought that was kind of cool. All right, well, Sammy, you have any other comments on this one?
I do not. I
All right.
agree, though, that it was feelingless and failed to captivate me.
well said. I concur.
All right, so then, Jerry, you said I would be impressed, so impress me. Where would you put this on the list?
I would play Donkey Kong Jr. over Mach Rider. There, I said it.
Really? Okay, so where exactly? What, between Donkey Kong Jr. and volleyball?
Correct.
Wow. That's very low. When you said that you were going to impress me, that was not the kind of impressment that I was expecting.
Impressment?
you.
Is that a word?
Yes, I just made it one.
Well, I just figured that for once, somebody is trying to rank a game below Donkey Kong Jr. So I thought for that reason that you would like that. But I mean, it just, for me, this was a tough one.
All right, well, before I throw my 2 cents into the ring, Sammy, what are your thoughts?
I think I would also place this fairly low. Probably right below Hogan's Alley. I think
Okay.
between Hogan's Alley and Donkey Kong Jr.
Okay. Wow. You guys are going to hate me.
Oh, no.
Because
Maybe.
I actually enjoyed this one. Does it have its flaws? Absolutely. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I did okay with it. I was able to make some progress into it. I love the setting. I thought there were a lot of cool ideas, even though the scrolling was not smooth. I thought overall it was a fairly good package for a game. I was going to put it between Balloon Fight and Wrecking Crew, which is substantially
Wow.
higher.
So
where are you guys putting it?
a game that made you gave you a headache. You're willing to put it that high?
You do have a fair point. But I don't know if it's just because I was playing slalom before that, or if I was just feeling sick that day. I didn't try it on multiple days. I probably should have, to see if that was a recurring effect. But I just feel like overall, as a whole package, it was a fairly solid game. There's more to it than Donkey Kong Jr. And use one of your arguments from last time. It has a course design option, but there's a lot more levels than, say, Donkey Kong Jr., Hogan's Alley, anything like that. So let me look at this list. Let me see if maybe we can come up to some sort of slightly better compromise here.
I love when you get thrown off.
Because this 100% threw me off. I just don't know if I want to rank it that low. Would I play Donkey Kong Jr. over this? Yes, but there's also other games on this list I'd probably play where I play Mach Rider over. Like I've definitely played Mach Rider over Urban Champion. I play Mach Rider over Ice Climber.
I would agree as far as what I played over Urban Champion. Yes, so I'm willing to go a little higher.
Oh man, you guys are making me think.
I'll only go lower.
Wow.
Just don't say that it'll go under DKJ math and we won't have to fight, sir.
No, I'm kidding. I'm flexible.
That makes one of us.
Well, let's go to the middle. Let's talk it through.
Mm-hmm.
What makes this better or worse than, let's say, baseball?
I think baseball's more enjoyable than this, personally.
Really?
Wayne?
I think this is more enjoyable because it just has more to it.
Okay. But let's look at it from this standpoint. Did baseball play better?
If you want my honest opinion, I would say no.
Okay, fine. Fine. I'll go with the low-hanging fruit. Did baseball give you a headache?
Yes, but after I got done yelling at my fielders for going so damn slow, I had a coarse voice at that point,
So no.
Yeah, that was a long way of saying no, Wayne.
I'm just trying to follow.
Yeah. Let me throw this one out there. We're going to start here. Ice Climber, right? A game pretty universally hated by us. Why would you play that over Mach Rider?
Sammy? I feel like I'm the Ice Climber hater, and I've made it very clear, and I don't want it to...
Frankly, I wouldn't play either.
Same. If you gave me the choice, right, I would say neither as well. I'm in agreement there.
Yeah, but since we don't just have two lists, one we would play and one we wouldn't, and we have to rank them, then we have to figure it out. All right, can I posit handling this via a mathematical solution?
Okay.
Rather than each of us trying to convince the other.
Okay.
So if I were going to rank this, I think that I said I was going to rank it at 23.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, what would your ranking have been?
Mine would have been between
Yours
volleyball.
Would have been 24.
Yeah, 24. Sorry, mine would have been 24.
24. And then Wayne, yours?
Mine would have been number 9.
Dude, you're throwing this all off.
I know. Oh, sorry, number 8.
Oh, it's even higher. Okay.
I said between Balloon Fight and Wreck Crew.
Yeah.
Normally, I would submit.
The reason I ask is the average of those three numbers is 18.
Which would be Ice Climber.
Be
between
and
10.
So be it. And so if we have to figure it out, that's my vote for how to figure it out. We simply average our ranks, and that's where it goes.
And to go in line with that, if you posed the question to me, if I had 2 games, 2 cartridges in my hand, and by the way, I have to blow in both of them to get them to work. So that's okay. But if you said to me, hey, I've got these 2 games in my hand, you have to pick one. Which one are you choosing?
Don't you mean 3 games? 10-yard fight, Ice Climber, or...
Yeah, sorry. Fine. You give me 3 cartridges. I have to pick one.
I would pick
I'm gonna pick Mach Rider out of the 3. If I really had a choice, if I had to make that choice.
It sounds like where we're putting it is between 10-yard fight and Ice Climber.
I would be happy with that as a concession.
Sammy, your thoughts on that?
Well, as it was my idea, I approve.
I like your idea.
All right.
When you said, let's figure it out with mathematical equation, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
I'm not entirely happy with it, but it's a little bit higher than where you guys wanted to originally put it. So I guess I'll just have to live with that and cry myself to sleep again a little bit.
Oh, perhaps during the next ranking, Jared and I can make a more concerted effort to kowtow to your happiness.
Yeah. We live to serve or whatever.
Oh man, Mach Rider number 18 between 10-yard fight and Ice Climber.
You know, I noticed a trend here. So now he's going to go to bed crying about Donkey Kong Jr. and Mach Rider.
Yes, I will. You know, I stopped crying about Donkey Kong Jr. about a week ago, and now you're just going to bring it back up again.
Well, I hope you detected the subtle little shot that I took at you and Donkey Kong Jr. when I said what I said is my reason that to place it there. I think you missed it at first, but
I totally did. I don't know. I was just not a fan of where it was placed. I felt normally I would be fine with saying, all right, you know what? I'm cool with where it is right now. I just felt that was way too low.
You know, this is a really formative moment for the podcast because it seems to me, at least in the most recent episodes, we've all generally agreed on the games. We really haven't had a lot of outlying opinions. Tonight, we did. And it's in how we handle that kind of conflict that hopefully provide some value and insight to the listeners.
Absolutely. Because that's the thing. There will be times where none of us can really agree, and then we just got to come up with an idea of how to fairly rank the game. And it's just going to get more difficult once we get more games onto the list, which I feel makes it more fun.
Fun is definitely a word that you could use to describe it.
Fun, aggravating, frustrating. You know.
Well, it's important to have a little bit of dissent. If we all agreed on everything, God, what a snooze that would be.
I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I keep thinking about the scenario that I threw out of like Wayne holding 3 cartridges and being like, you have to play one of these 3, and I'm looking at those 3 and I'm going, that would be a miserable time. It really would.
So yeah, Mach Rider number 18. To the third game of the night, Mario Brothers, an arcade title that was ported to the NES in America in June of 1986. This was, I don't know how I want to put it. This is one of those games that I feel like nostalgia hits hard for me on this one. Because I played this game in the arcade many times. There was a restaurant near me and Jerry, where we used to live, called Beltsville Bar and Grill. I don't remember what it used to be called. They had a Mario Brothers cabinet in their upper area there, where they had the arcade and stuff. The joystick was busted. You could only move in one direction, but I was still able to make it pretty far into the game. It's a little tricky, but it's doable. In Mario Brothers, the whole premise is you're in a sewer. You have all these creatures coming out of the pipes, and you bop them from the level underneath them to basically turn them on their backs. And then you just run up to them and just kick them square in the gonads, and then they go away, and a coin pops out for points. Eliminate all the baddies, and you move on to the next level. Done. Curtain closed. That's the game. I could talk about this game for a while, because, again, I really, truly enjoy this one.
Oh, I could say things. I could say things too.
What?
What? Sorry.
What?
I thought I was on mute.
Wow.
I didn't push the button.
Whoops.
But
elevator go down the hole.
What did you guys think about this one? Let me put this away. What did you think of the gameplay?
Right. I wanted to.
How does it compare to games like Donkey Kong? Because that's like, I feel like a fair baseline to start with. How does it feel like Donkey Kong? Because they're both single screen platformers, and all you're doing is going for a high score.
I just wanted to say that the jumping's horrible, but the game itself is very, very fun. But my gosh, is the jumping awful?
I was a little rusty when I played this one for this episode. I forgot how loose the controls felt. And the jumping, it pains me to say this. It really does. And I'm doing this with only positivity in my thoughts. I have to compare the jumping to Ice Climber.
Yes. That was my first thought.
Not as bad. It's not as bad.
Slightly better, but that's not saying much.
Yeah.
It takes away from this a little bit. It really does.
It does. I don't remember if the arcade version feels like that. I feel like it does, but it hurts me to say it. But yeah, there's no beating around the bush. The jumping is very loose. The movement is slippery. And God forbid if an icicle breaks on the platform and turns it into ice, things just go downhill very quickly at that point.
But it's still a really fun game
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
Especially since there is only essentially one level repeated over and over. It's just different enemies and hazards and stuff.
I think it's a testament to the game that, like you said, it's one level. But I'm speaking for myself, obviously, because I'm not going to speak for anybody else, nor can I. But regardless of the fact that it's one level, I couldn't put this down. It was more fun than I remember it being. But for me, I remember I experienced this game after Super Mario Brothers, and that's not fair. When I was a kid, I didn't know there was a Mario Brothers. I always just was used to Super Mario Brothers because that's the first game that I was introduced to by my cousin on this system. So years later, when I got a chance to check out Mario Brothers, I was like, what is this? And I didn't like it at the time because all I knew was Super Mario Brothers, which is, I'm just going to say it now, doesn't touch this. Like, this doesn't touch Super Mario Brothers at all. But it's just, yeah, I experienced these out of order. So for me as a kid, this game was not fun. But man, I found myself playing this the other day, and I just kept going. Like, I was determined, like, I just have to keep getting better scores. For its simplicity, at its core, it hooks you in. And I don't even really know why, but it did for me. And I really enjoyed this a lot. It was really a lot of fun. And I'm glad this is one of those times where, like, playing it years later, I have a total change of opinion on this game. And behind the scenes, you were ready to fight me the other day.
I 100% was.
Because all I said to you was, like, I have words. And instead of asking, like, you just immediately thought that I was going to be negative, and you were ready to fight with me.
That's because every time you say you have words on a game I enjoy, it's never a good thing.
Well, maybe now in the future, you'll be a little more, open-minded when I say I have words.
Probably not. Sammy, what were your experiences playing this one? Did you have that same kind of addictive quality to it?
I did enjoy it. I don't have the same nostalgia that you guys do because, as I repeat every episode, I didn't play console games when I was a kid. And as a side note, there are sometimes when I notice that the controls are funny, but sometimes listening to you guys talk about the nuances of how well the game handles the input makes me chuckle to myself because I feel like a klutz no matter what I'm playing because I'm just that particular finger coordination, it is just not wired into my body. And so it takes me a long time to get a handle on pretty much anything I play. And I don't really have the feel for the details that you guys do. So to listen to you guys talk about that, I do think that it's fun. And when we talked about Donkey Kong, which by the way was the one game that I did play a little bit when I was a kid, I said that it was a classic, and so you want to think of it so highly, but I really didn't feel anything. I felt a lot more connected to Mario Brothers, I think. It was a little bit more enjoyable. Although I have to say I'm kind of a sentimental character, and the look on those poor turtles' faces when they flipped over, it's tough for me to watch an animal in agony. And so in a way that helped me connect more with the game, but yeah, I don't know, it was a little troubling.
I mean, that is a fair point. They do look very innocent when you flip them over. And, like, I
They
feel
look
kind of
so
bad for kicking them.
sad. They look
Yeah,
like they're crying.
because they're like just sitting there on their
Poor
back and they're like
turtles.
struggling.
Yeah, and then you're just gonna run up and kick them, and they're dead. Like, I mean, if you even think about Super Mario Brothers, like when you say that, and I'm just talking about like the green shell turtles, they don't look threatening at all, right? They're just walking. It's just like, I'm just being a turtle. I'm just walking.
Speaking of threatening, the only enemy that's really threatening in this game, like threatening looking, are the crabs. Like, they look absolutely angry when you hit them.
Well, I mean,
I guess you could say they're crabby.
Dude. Do you want me to leave that in? I'll give you a chance.
Yes.
To it.
100% yes.
Okay.
What's the difference between a dirty old bus stop and a crab with breast implants?
Did you just come up with this, or have you had this?
One is a crusty bus station. The other is a busty crustacean.
Jesus.
How long have you had that?
A long, long time. long time.
I think Wayne's broken. You break Wayne. It's fun. Do you need a second? Are you good?
No. I'll have to bring that one up at work tomorrow.
You better write it down. You probably get it wrong. Don't screw it up and like invert
I'll just
things.
text Sammy.
Okay.
Yeah, I can text it to you.
I'd be sitting there. I'd be sitting there laughing to myself as I'm like typing it out. I'd be like, "Oh, this is so funny." That's where you have to be alone, so people don't look at you weird.
One of the things I can also appreciate, to get this back on track, one of the other things I can appreciate with this game is the difficulty curve. It slowly increases. At first, you just start with the turtles,
which poor turtles
obviously become the Koopas.
The poor turtles.
And then you get the crabs, which are a little bit faster and have to be hit twice.
Poor turtles.
And then you get the flies that start bouncing around. And then you get the ice, which is a nightmare. Once you get to that point, panic starts setting in. You might start missing kicking enemies, and then when they get up, they're even faster. Like, it doesn't end well.
You know, not for nothing, those fireballs at times are problematic in their own right.
They can be. Did you know that you can actually destroy them, though?
I knew you could hit them like away if they're up. Like I hit the platform below me, and it
the timing has to be
it.
Perfect. You have to be able to hit it basically while it's on the platform. So it has to be really quick. I did forget to mention that there's actually kind of a form of this game in Mario 3. If you go to where the last person completed the level and you hit A when it has a little icon there, you'll actually go up against a 2-player version of this game. And then whoever wins gets to continue playing. Like, that way you can kind of steal a turn away from whoever you're playing with. You can also steal cards that way, and eventually you can actually get in some more bonus games that way where all these coins are flying out and you have to grab more of them than the other person.
Did you and I ever get to that?
What's that?
Did you and I ever get to that? I don't remember that. This is the first I'm hearing of it, but you and I have played SMB3 a lot together.
I mean, you can play it right from the start. Me and my brother, we'd spend maybe an hour once playing it, just like hitting each other around, kind of steal cards from each other. Like, it's not something that a lot of people will do, because usually when someone finishes a level, they just let the other person play it in that game. But there are ways around that. So anyway.
Sorry, where were we? We really got off track.
Mario, where are we putting this on the ever-growing list of games?
I think I might put it at number 7, right below Popeye.
Wayne, do you want to go
Okay.
or do you want me to go?
I'll put it out there. I actually put it between Slalom and Popeye. So just one
Whoa.
notch higher.
This one
Whoa.
goes to 11.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, was that a Joey Russo?
Yes.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. I'm glad.
Let's just keep doing that for the rest of the episode.
All right, Jerry, what are your thoughts? Is this going to be reversed from Mach Rider, where me and Sammy put it pretty high, and you're like, no.
I would actually put this between. I'm torn. I have 2 spots and they're close, and I don't know. I'm like quickly comparing in my head right now. I would actually put this between Pinball and Duck Hunt.
Pinball, okay. You're actually going higher.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. I'm actually kind of surprised that you would put it above Duck Hunt. Because I know you are a staunch advocate for Duck Hunt. So that's actually kind of surprising.
And it's really a case of where I've had an opportunity to revisit this game at a different point in life. And having obviously just not too far ago, having played Duck Hunt and having enough experience with that game and time with that game to remember what it was like to use the zapper. But looking at it now, Mario Brothers offers more playability to me, and I played it. If you gave me, again, if we did the whole thing, hold the cartridges in the hand, take the pick. Mario Brothers offered more enjoyment for me than Duck Hunt does.
Wow. What?
I stumped you again.
I think I kind of want to move where I put it. I think you kind of like swung me to that side a little bit.
And it's not, I want to be clear, like I'm not, my suggestion of where I would place this, it's not because it's a Mario Brothers game. I just want to be clear, like it's not a nostalgia Mario tinted glasses kind of thing. That's not what it is. I genuinely really, really liked this. And I went into this not sure how I would feel because of how I knew I felt about it as a kid. But when I thought about it again, like I said before, I experienced these out of order. It's not fair, as when you're a kid especially, and the first game you see is Super Mario Brothers, and that's the first game you play on a Nintendo, and years later you play Mario Brothers, yeah, that's gonna change your opinion in most cases, I would think. But looking at it now and looking at the list, yeah, that's where I would place it.
Sammy, do you think that is too high, or would you be fine with that?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. It's a good game.
I would be all right with that as well. So, number 4, it goes. Mario Brothers. Number 4 between Pinball and Duck Hunt. But now we come to the final game.
Wayne,
of the black boxes.
I'm raising my almost drank glass, but I made sure to save a little bit.
I totally killed my glass. I even refilled it, and it's gone too. So I'll lift my glass of water I also have next to me, and I'll take a sip.
Yeah.
High quality H2O. Anyway, before I get into that, yes, we'll be doing Kung Fu. As you may know, there are 30 black box games. I have made the executive decision not to do one of them. It's called Stack Up. The reason why is I guess you can call it a logic-based game where you absolutely need Rob the Robot in order to fully experience the game. Because we do have to use the dreaded E word in order to play most of these games for ease of use, Rob obviously does not come part of that. So I decided that we're going to put an NA at Stack Up. We will not be ranking it. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, hey, we're not talking about this because we don't have the peripherals required to fully talk about and fairly rank the game. So that's the disclaimer for that. With that said, move on to Black Box game number 29, Kung Fu. And there is a reason why we decided to do this one last. It was developed by IREM, who also did 10-Yard Fight from earlier. It was released in the US in October of 1985. It was known as Kung Fu Master in the arcades. This is one of my favorite NES games ever. Not just Black Box, but the entire console. I could talk about this one for a while. I played this one for a couple hours the other day. I even threw a little challenge to the guys in our Discord chat where I threw my score in Discord. I said, come on, one of you guys can beat me. Let's go. So
I like how you were nicer to everybody else than me.
yeah, you know, you should be used to this.
You called me a bitch.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Am I laughing?
But
No.
you should be. Because I am. But yeah, it's a very simplistic feeling game. You were going through 5 levels, beating up thugs that took a girlfriend. That's it. You can punch, you can kick, you can jump kick, and you can jump punch. Who wants to start?
This game is freaking great.
I think you got to go into a little bit more detail than that there, buddy.
Fine. This was the first cartridge that I bought when I recently bought a top loader NES a few years ago.
This was the first one.
This was, well, I bought 3 games when I was buying the console. I bought, this should come of no surprise to you, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out,
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario 3, and Kung Fu were the first 3 games. I bought them at the same time.
Nice, nice. For a black box game, it has really solid gameplay. So what's interesting is how the difficulty kind of works. On floors 1, 3, and 5, you have your standard enemies that come up to you and attack you. But on floors 2 and 4, you have, I guess we can say, critters that attack you. Honestly, I think level 2 is the hardest level in the game. Because you have pots coming from the roof, and if they hit you, they do a huge chunk of damage. And depending on what kind of pot comes from the roof, you have either a snake that comes out and starts running after you. You have a dragon that just comes right in front of you and spits fire. Or you have this weird, I call it a beehive. I don't know what it's actually supposed to be. But then explodes and spreads shrapnel everywhere. If you can get past that, though, the rest of the game, I feel, is fairly easy. It's just that part is just a nightmare. But I don't even know where to start with this one because there's just so much good to it.
Yeah, can we just talk about, though, the names to me are a little underwhelming for the characters.
You mean like Thomas and Sylvia?
Thomas. Come on, Thomas.
What's wrong with Thomas?
No offense.
Yo, Tommy!
No offense to anybody who's named Thomas.
Too late.
It's just... I laughed at that. I'm sorry. But can we talk about one of the best things about this game? I'm probably going to make Sammy laugh here too when I say this. But how freaking awesome is it how fluid and smooth and how quick you can turn? There is no delay. If you have enemies coming at you from the left and the right side, you can easily hit both enemies coming at you with like the flick of your finger. You turn right around. Control-wise, there's not much of a better game that we've played so far. That was, I just think that's awesome. I'm sorry. I can't say enough about this game.
What I think is even more impressive is that you can turn directions when ducking. There's a lot of later games that you still couldn't do that. You had to get up and then turn around and then duck. So, like, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like,
the ability to be able to kick and punch while crouching too, and yeah, being able to move left and right at seemingly with no delay, and the ability to be able to do it at all, and as fluid as it is to be able to do that, because you do have the shorter enemies that you have to At least I think, if maybe I'm wrong, but I had to crouch to hit those.
You have to, yeah.
So I just to be able to do low kicks, to do high kicks, to do low punches and high punches, the variety of that alone for this time. The only thing that I've never really liked about this game is when you have to jump.
Which is very rare that you ever actually have to jump.
But that could be slightly better.
I'd agree with that. What I do like too is the challenge level. Basically, the game lets you almost dictate the challenge. If you want to go for points, you can punch, but obviously you're going to have that shorter range. Or you can play it safe, get about half the points, and just kick everybody. When I was a kid, I kicked everybody. As I grew up and I wanted that extra challenge, I wanted to go for that high score, I started punching everybody.
Did you ever get arrested?
I did not. I kind of wanted to yell Roadhouse as I was kicking things, though.
So, Sammy, I know this is probably your first experience with this game, right?
Yeah. I didn't know exactly what I was expecting, and you guys obviously knew this already, but everybody was kung fu fighting. Those guys, they were fast as lightning.
You've been sitting on that all day, haven't you?
Actually, it just came to me. But I'm glad to hear that it went over okay. Yeah, it's funny to me because even though the game is somewhat unidimensional, it's still kind of fun. And I wasn't particularly good at it, but I did enjoy playing it. I did not notice the difference in responsiveness between ducking and jumping, personally. I found both a little bit tricky. But I stink. So that's not really a critique of the game, right? That's just how it is. But it is strangely captivating, isn't it? Despite its simplicity.
It really is, because on the surface, it's a game that, when you look at it, at least even as a kid and even to this day, like, it's a button masher in every sense of the word, at least for me and how I play it, because I'm awful. And I've tried to time my hits, and, sometimes it doesn't work. So I mash the hell out of the buttons. But I usually, have frustrations around button mashers, but this game is a completely different thing. And for its simplicity, it packs a punch.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
Nobody got that. I'm over here waiting for.
Sure, good job.
I'm over here waiting.
Sorry.
I'm waiting for Wayne to
Wait, what?
groan. Seriously?
I missed it.
I blew it. I zoned out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I said it really packs a punch.
Punch out?
Dude, what did you just get done saying that the point differential?
Oh, Jesus. Womp womp.
Yeah, for you.
Here's my question, though, and this is something I thought of when I was replaying the game again. I'm starting to wonder if Thomas is the bad guy.
Oh?
So hear me out. You come in this dojo, kicking everybody down, right? You're trying to get your woman back, right? But maybe all the people you're attacking, they're actually saving Sylvia from you. Because
what are you doing?
All you see is violence. But all these enemies, all they're doing is hugging you. They just want to give you love.
Are you really going there?
Yes.
They're coming at you with their hands up, bro.
And then they hug you, and then your health drains.
Oh, so you're saying that love and peace is so against it's not part of who you are. It makes you angry, so it drains you and it slowly kills you. That's the angle.
This is like the equivalent of the villain, the big bad guy coming into like a medieval village or something without a sword or anything, and then he just sets fire to everything. He starts beating everybody down. All the soldiers come at him, and he just strikes them all down. He steals the queen and then gets out of there.
Why did they tie Sylvia to the chair, bro?
because I don't know, what's it called? The Stockholm Syndrome.
Sammy, do you hear this?
I'm listening. I'm confused. I'm confused.
All I'm saying is we just need more peace and love, and that's the message of the game.
That's not what the message of the game is, dude.
Well, it's the message of the game that I got, all right? Thomas needs to lighten up a little bit, you know? Kicking doesn't solve everything.
Kicking? I want to do some kicking.
kicking.
Okay, so freaking SpongeBob references out here now. I'm sorry, but I'm really hung up on this. Where in the world did you conjure up such an approach?
Just all the enemies are just trying to hug you for the most part.
Bro, there's dragons spitting fire.
Semantics, you know.
This is unbelievable.
All right, so it's a failed theory. There's a reason why I'm not a writer.
Did you have anything in that sparkling cider that you drank?
I mean, it's not strange in and of itself to have a theory like that. I think it's strange to say it out loud.
What you're basically saying is sometimes there's some things best left unsaid. The is okay. That's yeah.
One last thing I want to note on is, for some reason, the sound effect they use, in all seriousness, kind of sort of seriousness, the sound effects that they use when you get an extra life. Ding dong. Like, why did they use a doorbell? I don't know. It's just, I always found that weird.
Well, a doorbell.
Am I the only one?
Well, a doorbell would signify something that's inviting and represents love and peace. That's exactly what you want. And now you're out here complaining about a sound effect. Am I picking up what you're putting down?
Okay, so apparently I'm just nuts. That's besides the point.
Bro, I don't know where we are right now. Sammy, help me here.
I derailed this so far off.
Does that make any sense with what I just laid out there?
What you just laid out about the about the doorbell
signifying peace and love and all that. That's what he wants, but now he's complaining.
I mean, it was probably about the best you could have done under the circumstances.
It's got everybody out here speechless.
I did not I think I made this clear already. I stink at playing these games. I did not earn any extra lives. So the first time I'm hearing about the doorbell is right now from the two of you.
Oh, I do like the sound effect when you get whacked by an enemy and it's the dong, and then you get the laugh the laugh is great, by the way. Like when Sylvia's tied to the chair and it's, "Help me, Thomas," and then the laugh is just going like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's just right. It's great. It's the only time I want to get whacked. Just to hear that.
But one of the things we didn't really touch on were the bosses. I thought that was I enjoy fighting the bosses. I almost always run up to them, just like give them a quick jump kick in the face, and then just duck and just start spamming either the punch or the kick, and that usually takes care of them. But if you can't get a good attack in at first, like, the bosses can actually be kind of difficult to take down, especially if you have one of the knife throwers chucking knives at you. Things can go south very quickly.
There's one that has a boomerang, right?
Yeah, the second level boss.
Yeah, see, that's the one that I had the most difficulty with, was the boomerang boss.
For me, it's usually the level 4 boss because he threw the fireballs at you, and you have to punch him. You can't not kick him. Kicking does nothing. But speaking of doing nothing, there is one thing I did want to mention. Why is there a jump punch? It's the absolutely no use for that move. Like, jump kicking is even debatable. But I didn't know this until I looked up some stuff earlier. Apparently, if you jump kick, I think it's every 16 enemies, they give you a lot more points.
I didn't even know there was a jump punch.
There's a jump punch, and it's absolutely useless because it's over everybody. The only time I can even imagine it being useful is if you want to really be daring and try to jump punch one of the bases that comes down level 2 or one of the ladybugs in 4. But other than that, there's no point in doing the jump punch.
Yeah, it
Like
seems
literally,
kind
like
of nonsensical to have that in there, honestly.
100%.
Hmm.
All right, unless you guys have anything else to say, I think we can close this up and move on ranking this before I say something else that's stupid.
I'm reflecting on a lot of what this conversation was, and I'm a little worried about you, but you know,
I'm a lot worried about me, but that's besides the point.
Other than that, I'm good with moving on to the ranking if I don't have anything else. I just love this game. That's all I can say.
All right, so let me throw this out there. Sammy, you're the one with the least, I guess we can say, exposure to the game. Where would you put this?
I like this a little better than Mario. And so I would put it, I think, in spot 4, right above Mario Brothers.
Okay. Jerry, I'm going to hazard a guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think me and you are probably going to put it in the same spot.
I have a feeling we are too.
I think we're going to be putting it between Super Mario Brothers and Excite Bike.
Ding, ding, ding. Circle gets the square.
So I know, Sammy, you haven't played those games.
Yeah, so I'll defer to your judgment. I actually have played Super Mario Brothers because when I was playing for this week, I played that one first and then realized it was wrong. So,
well, okay, seriously, what were your thoughts on? I know we're talking about Kung Fu. What were your thoughts on SMB?
Yeah, it's such a good game, and all right, so here I'm gonna geek out on you a little bit. You design things that people are supposed to use. So furniture, buildings, whatever, games. One of the it must be after 10 because my neurons aren't firing anymore. One of the principles of design is something called discoverability. And what that means is that when you encounter something, you should be able to figure out how to use it as close to instantly as possible. And generally speaking, when you don't fulfill that particular principle, it could be said that the design suffers. And what I think is so fascinating about the Super Mario Brothers games and all the Mario games is that they intentionally hide the discoverability. I mean, how many things do you know exist because you accidentally like jumped up into a block and something came out of it when you had no expectation that that block would actually do anything, but it did. You know, all those little Easter eggs scattered throughout the game that you encounter by accident basically give you a series of little like dopamine rushes right as you play the game because you're constantly discovering new things. You're constantly scintillated by the environment. And so to do that on a 2D screen, I think is a feat of genius. And so that whole franchise is famous not just because of the marketing, but I think because the premise of the games is really thoughtful and brilliant, if not, I don't know what's more than brilliant. It's a great game. Anyway, so those are my geeky thoughts about Super Mario Brothers.
So what's funny about your whole tirade there is you just summed up something I was going to bring up after you were done talking about that, but you just kind of saved me a little bit of time. So I was just about to say that.
Apparently not, because it sounds like you're going to say it anyway.
No, I mean, I'm not going to have to go into detail. But when I was trying to figure out where I was going to put this game, I was trying to come up with an argument to place it in number 1. I was trying to come up with a way to dethrone Super Mario Brothers. But pretty much for all the reasons you just explained, that's the reason why I cannot do it.
You were really thinking number one?
I was trying to find a way. I didn't think I was going to be successful, but I was trying. And a lot of times, like when I'm rating the games, that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, how can I, like if I'm looking at a game and I'm on the fence, and I'm like, all right, how can I argue with both sides here? And that's pretty much how I come up with a lot of my ratings. Whereas with Super Mario Brothers, I'm like, I know it's going to be one or two. I just cannot win this argument.
Well, it's also okay, in my opinion, to realize that maybe there's another game that is technically, objectively better, but you still have a stronger connection to a different one. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But anyway, we'll get to that eventually. My favorite game on the system, I wouldn't say it's the best game on the system. It's just one of those games that I love playing so much. So, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
I can't wait.
Me neither. So,
well, I really like how this all transitioned, and you played Super Mario Brothers by accident, and we got some really thoughtful, articulated statements. So,
agreed.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, a fortuitous turn of events.
Sure. I don't know what the word means.
We are now done with the black box games. So
Woo-hoo!
Now
Yay!
we get to move on to the remainder. Everything is done by random number generator. Even these games other than Kung Fu. That one, for like the last 2 episodes, we knew we were going to do that last. So, Jerry.
Yes.
You won the trivia. I need 3 numbers from you between 1 and 657.
Oh my gosh. Are you freaking serious?
So basically, if you pick 3 crappy games or 3 crappy numbers, it's your fault, by the way.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like such a fun thing to win now. Let's see. You said 1 to 657, right?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go with number 1.
Okay.
And we'll go with number 429.
Okay.
It's a good number.
And what was the final number?
657.
Well, you know what I'm going to do, right?
I don't know.
653.
50. Oh, I should have known. All right. Let me pull those games up quick. Oh. Okay. So, I will say that of the 3 games you picked, one of them I've never played, and 2 of them are actually some of my favorites on the system. So, the games for episode 10, otherwise known as the first of the normal, regular releases, non-black box games: Battle Tank, Rad Racer, and MC or Mach Kids.
Dang. That's probably a good mix.
I would agree with that. I mean, personally, I played a lot of Rad Racer and I played a lot of MC Kids, and I really enjoy both of those games.
Didn't you stream MC Kids on the channel?
I believe I streamed both. Oh, no, I didn't do Rad Racer. I know I've done MC Kids. I know a lot of people call it Mach Kids. I do not, because there are periods in the M and the C, which we will get to when we talk about it. With that said, thank you all so very much for listening. Jerry and Sammy, thank you again for participating. Unfortunately, Dan was unable to make it tonight due to being stuck in traffic. Hope his night goes a little bit smoother. We'll get him on the next one, hopefully. Any parting words of wisdom?
Well, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the current rankings.
I did forget to mention that, so thank you.
You're welcome. I will say that this portion of this with the black box only titles has been sometimes admittedly very difficult to play some of these games for a variety of reasons, and while I understand why you did it, it was still sometimes a little bit frustrating to experience these titles. And I say that only because I really, other than a few of these black box games, I didn't know that a lot of these existed. And obviously, knowing what I know about the Nintendo in and of itself, having had one, having played a bunch of those games, it's kind of I almost want to say it's like a really good, it's a good baseline to show how far Nintendo came
Yes.
with this. Because this could have, had it stayed on this course, we wouldn't be talking about 650 some games in the catalog. I don't think. I think this would have failed miserably. And to see where it started and where it ultimately ended up, it's just a really, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And I'm just really glad that the black box days are over. But I do have an appreciation for it because of where Nintendo is, like, even in today's space, and how hard everybody worked to get better and improve the console over the years. So while I've been very frustrated with you over some of these games and like the idea of starting at black box, I get it now. So
See, sometimes I have ideas in my head. They're not usually good ideas, but they're still up there.
But it's been fun experiencing these entry games into what became a very, very awesome catalog of home entertainment over the years. That's
I
all
would
I
agree
got.
with that. All right, so again, thank you all so very much. Again, thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, happy fragging.